Welcome to our end of the year list of best and worst of 2018. Now, if you've been following our channel a while, we've been doing this since 2015 actually, yep. And now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing our top 10 best and top 10 worst of 2018. This is we're going to be starting with our best of, so we're going to be doing our top 10 best movies of 2018 that we're going to look back on the movies that we feel ended up on either as our honorable mentions and also what actually ended up on our top 10 list.
And we have 3 honorable mentions for each one, and we're not going to go deep in at all with our honorable mentions. And if we didn't bring up a certain film, we either didn't saw it or we didn't think it felt our needs.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there were certain movies I couldn't get to, unfortunately, that won't make my list. So if these aren't on here, that those of you who have seen, then I apologize. I either didn't get to them, or they didn't I didn't see them, or I didn't care for them. But anyway, starting with my 3 honorable mentions, I have these are going to be divided up into 3 honorable mentions for both of us, and so mine goes like this. My number 3 is Bohemian Rhapsody. My number 2 for honorable mentions is The Incredibles 2, and my last is Hereditary. These movies, while I enjoyed them, they didn't unfortunately make my list, despite how much I really loved them.
Alright, for my 3 honorable mentions, I'm going to start off with my honorable mention number 3, Creed 2. My honorable mention number 2, Bohemian Rhapsody. And my honorable mention number 1, A Quiet Place. These 3 films, I wanted to find a spot in my top 10, but unfortunately, I saw 10 films I felt were better than these. But don't get me wrong, these 3 films were great.
Yeah, they definitely were.
Okay, you start with your number 10.
Alright, now we get into the main list. Started with my number 10, I'm going with A Quiet Place. Going into this movie originally, I unfortunately didn't catch it in theaters when it first came out, but I'm glad I finally got a chance to watch it back in August when me and him I finally got a chance to watch it together, and I gotta say I was really impressed with it. It was actually one of the best horror films I saw in fact, not only from of the year, but also from Platinum Dunes, because Platinum Dunes, who goes through Michael Bay's company, it was good that they allowed first-time director John Krasinski to do his first movie, and it was a horror movie.
Yeah, and he did really damn good job. He's known for like comedy and stuff.
And since 13 Hours,
well, he did 13 Hours, which was a surprise. A success for me when that came out.
Yeah, and he not only directed but also starred in it, and he not only captured a great survival film, the way that we look at this family trying to survive, but the mystery surrounding the creatures and stuff, I think is going to be really explored in the next movie. So I highly loved The Quiet Place.
Yeah, it was emotional too.
Yeah, it was.
All right, my number 10 is A Star Is Born. This is the film that originally was supposed to be Clint Eastwood's, but was handed to Bradley Cooper, and it stars Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, which I hope eventually in Oscars, I'm sure they're going to get nominations. And this is, I think, the 5th attempt at remake.
I think it is about 4th or 5th.
4th or 5th, but it's now considered one of the best. And I will tell you right now, this movie is like about a struggling artist who is dealing with drugs and alcohol, and his career's over with. So he meets a girl, and she's got something that's not being spotted by anybody.
Yeah.
She takes off. He pretty much, helps her get her career going. She goes a little too far of like wanting her own thing, and basically, there's some jealousy with him, and so on and so forth. And it was a damn good movie. I mean, the music, Lady Gaga, she's gonna really take all of the acting.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it, and that's a movie I've been wanting to see. It's just unfortunately I haven't had time to watch it.
Bradley Cooper, you did fucking fantastic at directing, dude. And not only that, man, the motion scene at the end really got me.
I hear you. Yeah, I need to really check it out because I haven't watched it yet, but I hear it's a phenomenal film.
All right.
So, fair enough. Now, my number 9 is This is going to be a controversial one. I know that this has been a very split decision for filmgoers. I have The House That Jack Built. Now, this is a film that, going into it, I heard about all the controversy surrounding the movie and everything. I haven't seen the full uncut version. The version I watched was the R-rated version. This is a film that he actually did a written review of it, and I actually finally got a chance to watch it. And I can say, like, from the previews I was already getting to, I knew what I was in for. And this basically deals with a guy who's a serial killer played by Matt Dillon through 12 years of his life, and he's basically, it's like a inside the mind, so to speak, character study of how far a guy,
like a serial killer,
yeah, basically, like it kind of plays off like if you took like Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, and all them, and did like a whole kind of different spin on them, and did like kind of basically like a psychological level, and get inside the mind of their head. Because throughout the movie, you're seeing like you're hearing voices of him talking to somebody, which they don't reveal until the end. But I was really intrigued by this, and I thought Matt Dillon like really fucking nailed this movie. Like, he really brought such a haunting performance in this. And while the movie isn't overly brutal like I thought it would be, it still shows a lot of the different things this guy goes through in order to basically not only, you know, get away with the murders and stuff, but also what really drives him to madness. And I enjoyed, like, they go into the kind of artsy feel of it. So the movie might not, like, you know, is really for everyone.
It's like Mother last year. One person's going to either like it or the other crowd's not going to like it.
I can see why a lot of people were very, you know, complain about the movie with it being like overly, you know, done by, you know, being overly grotesque and things like that, especially with the director that did the film, Lars von Trier. But as a movie itself, like, I still got into it. Yeah. So I put that as my number 9.
Okay. My number 9 is the sixth installment, Mission Impossible Fallout, which stars, you know, Tom Cruise doing his Mission Impossible ways again, bringing it back, and it also brings us back with a new villain. Well, a previous villain, which was probably the first time they ever did that.
Yeah, they did.
Entire franchise, but it's the dude from the 5th movie, and then they bring him in, but then they bring a new villain in, being played by Superman himself. Yeah, and I believe somebody else. I can't remember.
That was it as far as I remember.
There were some other twists and turns, but I'll tell you right now, if you want to go in our deeper of our Mission Impossibles, we got like our own reviews of them, retro and all that, as well as seeing this film. And I will say that this was probably my second favorite out of the whole franchise. This really upped the ante on like the jumping off of things and hanging on things.
I think that, as the way I put it, I think this one probably was my favorite. When I have like 3 as far as my second favorite.
I think it was my favorite. I can't remember what I said.
I think the way we were going.
Yeah, it was either my favorite. Like below it was either 3. It was this and 3 that was battling for my favorite. So man, this took like the Tom Cruise doing his own special effects, doing his own like stunts. This took it to like the highest it's ever been. He actually got hurt doing this movie. Yeah. And I thought that the actor that plays Superman,
Henry
Cavill, was a great fucking villain, man. Had some twists and turns, and not only that, it gets dark like the 3rd movie. Yeah, darker than it's ever been, because 4 and 5 kind of brought back more of the fun aspect only.
Well, 5 pushed a lot of the intensity as well.
I mean, they have intense, but they really had more action and excitement.
That's what I'm saying.
6 really brings it back to a serious tone.
It does.
Like, you got some shit where you think this is pretty much, this is going to be, you know, the last bit of Evan. You know? This is going to be the last bit of his thing. And it brings back, what's his face? The black dude,
Ving Rhames.
It brings him back, which was cool seeing him back in the franchise. And it was a great run. What should I say?
Fair enough. All right, now
you're at number 8.
Okay, fair enough. And now my number 8 I have is Searching. Now this is another film that this actually came out the same year as another film that was the sequel to in the same year we got Searching, we got another film called Unfriended Dark Web, which we didn't see, but if you remember back in 2015, they had a film called Unfriended that came out, which used the gimmick of basically taking place on like computer monitors and stuff like that, the entire film. Well, this one I kind of got interested because it basically dealt with, basically like a real life situation where someone goes missing. And boy, when I fucking watched that movie, I was blown away by it, because this is how you actually use this concept really well. This was able to not only give you on the emotional level of, of basically he's the guy, the main father that's looking for his daughter, played by John Cho, like the limits he has to go through and everything that he's working through. It has so many like twists and turns that it won't stop. It keeps getting more and more like intriguing. So yeah, with that movie, like, and plus the twist ending they have when they reveal all this as it's happening, I thought I was very fascinated with. And so this to me, they need to make more movies like this that use that concept in the future. So yeah, that's my number 8 was Searching.
Okay. My number 8 is American Animals, which is based off a true story about 4 college students who decide that living the normal life isn't really what they wanted, the normal boring day if they graduate. So they want something exciting in life. So they decide, let's rob our the vault in our college that holds some of the rarest books known to man that are worth, I think, upwards of $28 million. And they go and they try to plan a heist to steal these books while they're planning to meet up with somebody who will buy them for $28 million.
Yeah. And
the whole movie's based off of these guys planning this heist. And I will tell you right now, this is one of the best heist movies I saw of 2018. It stars Evan Peters and among some other ones. And I will tell you that they did this film with perfection. I loved how the build up with them building the heist, and it really doesn't go overboard. It's like it starts out kind of like an Ocean's feel, where how the scenes blend. It remind me of Running Scared, where how the scenes blend in other scenes. Like if they threw a straw would land in a cup in the next scene.
That's
like
cool.
They would blend their scenes so perfectly. But what I like about it is the realism. It didn't go overly hyped like shit that that they would never get real of. It shows them trying to pull off the heist at first, then it shows them getting fucking scared and like, fuck, abort. And then they get so money hungry, they go in there without being disguised, and eventually gets them fucking busted. And it basically, what an average teenager would do, he'd fuck up a heist. Anybody that young is gonna fuck up. They don't put it, they think they got it down pat, but it's not as easy as it goes. What I really liked about this, and I show a lot of respect to how they did this, was while doing this, they also bring the real actors into the story. The real people that did the heist. They ended up being in the film too. They're playing in the movie while narrating, but they're in the movie. And then at times they are literally in scenes where, like, if somebody's trying to reflect of, like one actor is reflecting of how fucked they are, and like you see a scene where he's looking out the window of a car in depression, scared, and it felt like he's lost. And he's looking, and while he's looking, he sees like the guy who's playing that guy and see the real guy who really did the heist. They look at each other.
Oh wow!
I loved how they blend all this shit together.
That is very.
I will say this was like a really. I just watched this recently, and it blew me the fuck away. So, yeah, that's my number 8, American Animals. Highly recommend watching that.
Fair enough. And my number 7 is Creed 2. Now, this is a film that I got really excited for because I've always been a big fan of the Rocky films, and while I wasn't the biggest fan of the first Creed that much, I still enjoyed it. The second one really got me interested because I'm a big fan of Rocky 4, and the way that they brought they were able to bring back Ivan Drago, and this time bring his son into the mix, really got me interested in this storyline that they were planning. And I can say everything that they did with the first one, they not only topped it, but they were also able to make this basically like kind of a direct sequel to Rocky 4.
And not only that, they were able, because you know how Rockies, what really ruined them, not ruined them, but what makes them kind of like fun, in the aspects that it goes where like you don't get much story told.
Yeah.
In a lot of them, they just become villains that just come into a movie.
Yeah.
And this one, Ivan Drago being one of my favorite villains of the Rockies, I did like how they humanized him. They gave more storytelling.
That's what I'm saying.
About him and what happened after the effects of losing.
That's what I'm saying. I love the character arc they go through, not only him, but also with Adonis as well in this, because you actually get to see both sides. So they play off very well with each other.
Yeah, it's in my honorable mentions.
The emotion that they go through for both, sides, it really works well with this.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, like, this has some of the best the boxing matches that I've seen.
Ooh,
in this,
brutal.
It gets really intense and brutal to the point that you're on the edge of your seat.
Yeah, it made my honorable mentions, but I saw so many good films. It at least made my honorable mentions. I'll say that. But yeah, I did love Creed 2.
Yeah,
man. I thought it was a fucking damn good film. I personally thought the way it ended, that was the final.
Yeah,
closure.
to me, I thought the way
they closed it so perfectly.
Completely.
Yeah,
I don't really want them to make a third one. I think that this is the best they could go out on. So with that, I highly fucking love. That was my number 7.
Okay, my number 7. He said it earlier. The house that Jack built. I will say that the controversy. A lot of people were really split on this, on the brutality and how, like, saying that I'm not familiar with Von Trier to kind of go into what his ego really is. This is really I know things about Nymphomaniac, but I've never seen a full Von Trier film until this one, and so I can't get into like the people bitching about his whole ego being played. Personally, I thought he did fantastic doing this movie. If you guys know me and my history, I don't get into like a lot of artsy films. This film does have like a lot of metaphors and art, but for the first time in a while, I think that the art metaphors actually blend very well with the story being told.
Yeah.
And Matt Dillon really gives one of his best performances here, and it really digs deep into a serial killer's mind. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's too grotesque, too much." People need to understand this is a character study of what a serial killer would be in real life. Do you think it's all cup of tea and drink and nice? You think they're nice? You don't. I mean, in fact, the movie doesn't even go into half of what a serial killer does or thinks in their head, but it does very well, and it leaves us with an ambiguous like ending that kind of intriguing in my opinion.
Yeah, it does.
So,
it definitely was.
Yeah, and like I said, it's Matt Dillon's best performance of his career, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's my number 7, The House That Jack Built.
Fair enough. And my number 6 is Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One. Now, this is a film that, much like we were saying earlier for Quiet Place, I unfortunately missed in theaters. Yeah. I finally got a chance to watch it about a few weeks ago, finally, and I gotta say, like, this is probably one of my favorite Spielberg films in quite a while. I was already excited from the trailers alone, because the idea of them doing like a whole virtual reality type game that, spin inside this world and stuff, it already got me intrigued already, but the way the movie goes, like, it got me so much invested with the way they have all the different nostalgic characters that you see from like various video games and movies and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, the whole movie is just surrounded that. Now, I know a lot of people say that it's basically, just pop culture, the movie, and yeah, you could say a lot with it's just a lot of just fan service for like all that nostalgia stuff that they put in there, but the way that the story really goes along, I still was so on board with the way it grew, because the way that this main kid is having to earn himself to win the challenges and stuff, and the backstory you hear from the main guy that created the virtual world, it really had me going throughout, and if I ever got a chance to watch the film in virtual reality, that would be even more a hell of an experience.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, with all the wonderful visual effects, the outstanding like classic tunes, and the nostalgia, everything like that, the movie's just everything that I expected. And it has a lot of heart to it as well. And I liked both the main kid and the whole cast as well were phenomenal. And so yeah, I can say this was definitely one of the best Spielberg movies I've seen in quite a while.
Okay. My number 6 is Mandy, which is the film that kind of went under radar, and it was starring Nicolas Cage, which we know is usually doesn't get a lot of good work.
Yeah.
So this film just came out of nowhere. I know it was a hard one to find. A lot of people would see it and then it would go away for a while, and you had to wait for like early screenings or trick releases, and then eventually everybody was able to get it. And I will say that I was blown away with this movie, man. This is a movie set with Nicolas Cage, and it's perfect for him. Yes, it's a movie where he's doing his blah, where he's all going crazy, but it's not overly done like a lot of people would think. This film takes us where we got a man and his girl, and basically they're living in kind of like this psychedelic. It's like a psychedelic world. Like we're like kind of like it's got a lot of rock feel to it.
Yeah, it does.
Not like like fucking like Queen of the Damn Rock. I'm talking about like a lot of like Woodstocky. Yeah, I don't know how to say it. Like
kind of like hippie type,
like hippie Rolling Stones tone to it. You can tell like the directors really digs that type of shit. And this movie's shot kind of purple and red. It's got like a psychedelic
purple, red tint to it.
And this movie really relies on its score.
Yeah, the score
was one of my favorites.
Yes, Johan Johansson, who did the score to that, like he tragically passed away, but he went out with making one of the best ones in his career.
And I'll tell you right now, this movie was fucking trippy in a fucking good way too, because it made a lot of sense. You got this cult that's drugging people. He's like, you get the cult member who kind of sees like Nicolas Cage's wife, and he falls in love with her at first sight, kidnaps her, does some shit to her, and man, this movie just fucking, I'll tell you right now, it's like watching Pink Floyd The Wall. Do not take drugs watching this. I mean, if you do, hopefully you have a good trip, because it just don't watch where they get to the Cenobite guys scenes, because those motherfuckers were creepy as shit. Man, it was gruesome, brutality. It went more expected than I did. I love the story too. The story was really good, and it leaves you with like this crazy fucking ending, like kind of ambiguous. Like, are they in the book she's writing? What is it that is? Because they were talking about space, how she's writing about space or like something about space, and when he drives off, you see like Saturn and all that. It was like fucking trippy, man. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, the rewatchability is very strong in this one. So yeah, that's my number 6, Mandy.
Hell yeah. And my number 5 is, he mentioned this earlier, Mission Impossible Fallout, which, like we were saying earlier, it seems like each movie keeps getting better and better with this franchise, which is funny because
one of the rarest
that keeps doing this, because Tom Cruise, to me, he can keep doing these movies until he's really old, and he'll never stop. It's just one of those movies that franchise that just keeps getting more unique and creative with all the different stunts, the action scenes they do, and they even push a lot more of the stakes this time.
And they are already in the process of writing part 7.
Yeah, so. And also, it's also the one that also kind of plays with the idea of doing different back and forth, like twists and turns, with much like some of the other ones were too as well. And everything about it that you love about the Mission Impossible franchise, it's here. And like I said, I enjoyed that. We also have the villains that come back again that we got in the last film.
Yeah, dude, he's pretty fucking menacing.
And so this is now actually my favorite of the franchise.
That's cool. My number 5 is Annihilation. This is a film that come out really early of the year, and this was the one that was starring
Natalie
Portman, Jennifer Jason Leigh, among others. And this is like set into like a kind of like a world where like something's going on in this certain area at this lighthouse where this kind of like sci-fi shit's going on. It's kind of like something's eating the earth, and basically they send soldiers in. They've sent soldiers in the past, and no one's came out alive. So these girls go in there. It's kind of a strong woman cast movie, and they go into this weird world. Basically, when they get inside, it becomes a different world. Like, everything's like so bright, colorful.
Yeah.
Like, trees are turned into fucking diamonds. And I mean, this movie's cinematography was one of the best I saw last year.
Yeah, it was.
And I will say the performance was great. It was great. And I'll tell you right now, for it just being like a sci-fi cool, like a different type of film, it was kind of fucking disturbing.
Oh yeah, especially that scene with that bear,
where it's like, and it's a girl screaming because the bear ate one of the girls.
It
replicated it, and it's like these aliens are trying to become the people.
Yeah,
and it really has kind of like a biblical message to it, trying to be like the new Adam and Eve type thing they're trying to do. And I'll tell you right now, and it had a hell of a fucking good score.
Oh,
I'll
definitely.
tell you that part where Natalie Portman is in that little thing with and Jennifer Jason Leigh screams that she's like in love with what in this world, and it comes out of her, and it does that like techno thing. Yeah, I mean, this movie was like probably one of my favorite visuals, other than like Mandy and a few other films.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it blew me away. So yeah, that's my number 5.
Fair enough. And my number 4 is, well, that's what he said earlier, Mandy. Now, this is a film that I've been looking forward to a while because I've gotten onto a lot of Nicolas Cage's movies when he's actually doing a lot of quality movies like, Bad Lieutenant or, Face Off or, things like that, where he's actually, getting into, depending on the script and the way things go. This film not only got me interested based on the visual aspect, but also, everything about this was just so captivating. It was basically like a cool throwback to, 80s type, artsy type movies that you saw back in the day in the 80s and stuff. And it's actually set in the 80s, which is cool too. And it was a fun throwback on that. And everything that goes with the fucking brutality that happens with them biker dudes and those biker looking Cenobite motherfuckers.
Yeah, where they're like gruesome to his blood. Especially the blood comes out of that throat and stuff. They're got needles and fucking spikes in it and everything.
Yeah.
They're talking like a fucking like a Lucifer language.
If this was set in the same universe as the Evil Dead or like the Hellraiser franchise, that would be a nice fucking tie-in. Yep. But anyway, the way that the story goes, where Nicolas Cage is having to fight all these cult members and stuff, it really pushes a lot of the fucking like artsy but really fun feel of it. And while they could have added a lot more with the story, I still enjoyed how they went along with it. And so with that, I feel like this is one of Nicolas Cage's best performances he's done probably since Bad Lieutenant. So with that's my number 4 for Mandy.
My number 4 is a film he talked about earlier, Searching. That's the one with, like he said, they take the aspects of the webcam thing and texting and all that stuff and Skype, and we see it's about the mystery of his daughter going missing, and he's going out there looking for his daughter and seeing who would, who can. What happened to her. And this film really, really plays out as like, it makes you believe, like, did she really get taken? Is she a part of something that we don't know?
Yeah.
And then you get, like, suspicious of, like, did somebody kill her? Then you get family members. Did the family members? And it's like, this movie does so good with the investigation of, like, you're everywhere. It's like, God, this movie is, like, it's John Cho's, like, probably best performance.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely. That twist ending, who it ended up being, the third person, blew me a fuck away.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, so that's my number 4, Searching. Yeah.
So now, my number 3 is Upgrade, which this is a film that really went under the radar for last year. It was a movie that basically came and went. It was a movie that from the trailers, I was kind of expecting a little bit of it, but I didn't really, think much of it.
Yeah, like the trailers I saw at first, which was, it wasn't something that severely grabbed me.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, but it got me a little intrigued, and so I went and seen it, and I was like, man, why the fuck is this movie not getting more attention? Because this movie, to me, is like one of the most underrated films of 2018. Not only did it perpetuate because the plot basically dealt with this guy played by Logan Marshall Green, who looks just like Tom Hardy, and it's in the near future where this technology is available to basically create your body into basically like this implant or whatever that makes your body become like, kind of like robotic and stuff and give you superhuman strength. Well, in an incident that happens, he basically ends up getting this powerful strength where his body like takes over, which in a way was kind of similar to Venom, basically how his body takes over.
And you gotta look like Logan Logan.
Yeah. So
Logan being the look like of
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
And but the way the movie just perpetuates, it's almost like it's set in the same universe as Blade Runner 2049 and shit. Like the cinematography, the score, everything about this movie just perpetuated. And that fucking ending I thought was so captivating because it doesn't do your typical Hollywood ending. You know, it actually takes risks and actually goes for it. You know, like it's everything that I loved out of a sci-fi doing, but also kind of throwing in some horror elements as well. And this was directed by Lee Winnell, who's usually known for like the Saw movies and stuff, and Insidious. But as a first time directing, he did a phenomenal job.
Doing his own story, his own thing. So even though he still did his own story with Saw. But anyways, I thought this movie was so like outstanding, and if they end up doing a sequel, I'm not really. I think this is kind of a one and done deal because the way it stands. Any movie keeps doing sequels risk telling too much, and it just repetitiveness. That's the problem.
So overall, that movie it's one of the best. And that's my number 3.
Okay. My number 3 is the one he talked about earlier, Ready Player One, done by Steven Spielberg, the virtual reality of the boy who had to use a place called the Oasis to get away, and he joins a contest in winning the grand prize of like $1 trillion and owning the Oasis. And the guy who created the Oasis, played by
Mark
Rylance, who's really familiar with a lot of lately with Steven Spielberg films movies, like BFGs and all that. And I've grown to really like him, man. He's either in Steven Spielberg films or Nolan films. And he's the guy who created the Oasis, and basically, you know, this kid's on this kind of all these kids are on this Willy Wonka adventure. It's like Willy Wonka, man. And I'll tell you, from the trailers alone, was probably one of the it delivered probably one of the best trailers of last year. And I will tell you right now, I am an 80s kid, so a lot of people bitched about the pop culture and all that. To me, I found nostalgia in it. I loved seeing what I saw. Now, it's not just 80s shit in it either.
It's everything.
It's everything from video games to 90s. Man, fuck, they got Halo in this.
Well, and
they got every pop culture in it, but I think it works.
It worked all in context-wise the way they did this, especially that Shining scene. I thought was so, like,
that was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
And they played that fucking scene to the T, and I couldn't believe the farther it was getting in, it was about to show the lady and all that. I'm like, hold up here. This is rated PG-13, man. And it really got deep in there. But I really enjoyed the fucking heartwarming story and this boy trying to be something. And while at the same time he's dealing with the shitty life of living what they like to call I forgot the name they call it, basically the stacks. That's what they call it, stacks. Basically the world's overpopulated and everybody's just pretty much just stacking up. And emotional scenes of losing, you got like emotional scenes of losing family and all this. Like there's some pretty deep shit in this. I even thought the guy known from Batman, he's been doing a lot of villain roles. He did pretty good as a villain.
The guy from Rogue One.
Rogue One, and he was also the villain in Dark Knight Rises. Semi-villain as like trying to steal Bruce Wayne's money and not only that, Woody Harrelson had a cool little Woody Harrelson? Cut out. The dude that flips the thing.
Simon Pegg.
Simon Pegg. Yeah, cut that out. Yeah, I enjoyed Simon Pegg. Yeah, flipping the coin. And then he ends up being that twist with him and that thing. That was pretty cool. I don't know. There's something about it that it brought so much joy to me. And I fucking couldn't get enough of this movie. It just got better and better.
Yeah, it did.
It was
absolutely.
It blew me away. So that's my number 3, Ready Player One.
Fair enough. Now, my number 2 is a film that I was already really interested in from the start, and this was actually one of the last films I saw in the theater until I went on a hiatus for a while. At the beginning of last year, and that was Annihilation, which was directed by Alex Garland and had Natalie Portman. And from the trailers, and everything, the movie, the way it goes, it takes a very interesting story from how you have like this weird force field kind of thing where these aliens and stuff are like coming to basically trying to replicate us, trying to start Earth over again. And like he was saying, this film not only has some of the best cinematography, but some of the best score I've heard, and it has really intense moments, especially with that bear scene you were talking about.
Yeah,
that to me is probably one of the best.
It's actually just the whole movie itself is. It's weird because it's one of those rare films that, other than that bear scene, which is pretty brutal, but everything is so pretty but so scary at the same time. Yeah,
it's like basically it's like something that looks beautiful on the outside, but deep inside something's evil. Really evil.
Yeah.
So it really takes a lot.
That's what makes it more disturbing.
Yeah, and the originality and everything that they go based off of this, I'm glad. I can see why it didn't do too well in theaters, but I wish that it would have really got more attention than what it got.
Exactly.
So that was my number 2.
Okay. My number 2 is a film he talked about last, Upgrade. Liam Winnell, you really fucking nailed it out of the park with this one, man. This blew me away when I walked out of the theater. I was just shocked at what I just watched. Like, I expected walking in as a standard sci-fi film.
Yeah, because it looked like it.
Yeah, I mean, it was even not promoted as much, and it was when the promotions I saw was there, I just didn't think it was going to be something that amazing. And when I was watching this film, I was like, God damn, dude, I'm loving this whole fucking... This is also... To be fair, it's also got it's in my top 3 favorite scores.
Yeah, definitely.
Man, the fucking scores in this film. And, dude, Lee, this is some of the best camera work I've seen out of all 2018. Especially with how he moves his body.
His body up and down.
And it's just like, then when he's doing the flips, the camera's turning.
And the choreography.
Yeah, and then where he's doing that part where he's fighting, and he does that to his face.
Yeah.
Like that. The fight scenes, oh my God, the way that, I gotta give credit to Logan, the actor, in this for being able to portray a guy who's quadriplegic from an accident and a robot pretty much taking over his body and letting, doing it all for him.
Yeah.
And stuff. And I will tell you right now, expected from Lee, when he did with Saul, that fucking ending blew me a fuck away. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And there's people that they bitch and say everything's got to have a happy ending. No, not everything.
Well, because the criticism I've heard from some I've heard is that it basically makes the whole revenge basically pointless, which spoilers.
No.
Well, this is just kind of a minor spoiler, but the way that he basically ends up, taking his body over completely, and if you find out the voice inside of his head is basically it. A lot of people thought that it was basically pointless because the whole point was him trying to get revenge. But that wasn't the point. It was the point that his body was basically being taken over.
That if you just go with that, then you're just right. Then you're just wanting something standard and safe.
Yeah.
And just boring. If it would have went with that route, this probably wouldn't have made my list.
Yeah.
It's the fact that while he's doing, and it's letting him do the revenge, and it's wanting him to do his revenge, but it's also doing something behind its back.
Yeah.
And it's taking over slowly everything he ever owns. And then, like he said, spoilers, that twist ending where it puts him in his, kind of pretty much throws him away, and it takes, oh my God, and in the way he walks away in that, and dude, I don't know, just everything about this film it's probably one of the best sci-fi-ish type films I saw last year. Easily, man.
I agree.
That blew me away. So yeah, that's my number 2 Upgrade. Now him and I can do this together because this was both of our number 1 film. Our number 1 film of 2018. Avengers Infinity War.
Now, this is a film that I was already excited to begin with from the trailers because this is a movie I was so anticipating when I first heard they were making it. Because this is the last 10 years, Marvel has been doing so much great with success. When starting out with Iron Man, with all the other films, it was at this point they wanted to finally bring everything together in this ultimate
finally introduce
crossover.
Us with Thanos.
Yes, Thanos, the big villain that we first set up in the Avengers, the first one, who's been set up with this. And this, to me, is the ultimate film to go to. If you ever want to know anything about him, all the stuff that they put in with the stakes and everything, this is everything that I wanted so much out of Marvel to do.
Yes, this went over and beyond. At first, I was skeptical back in the old days with Marvel. Marvel because I thought that everything was too kiddish. But then I started seeing a little something different. I started seeing there's a reason why it starts out very soft. It's because it's building up to get to tragedy.
Yeah. Well, because you notice also
I'll tell you right now that after seeing it, God damn, it does build the tragedy.
It does.
And man, I will tell you right now, this was probably easily the second best superhero film I've probably seen of all time. Right behind Dark Knight, respectfully. I'm still holding that as one of my favorite superhero films of all time. But this was probably my second favorite and easily the best of the MCU.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
This is definitely up there for me. Like, not only but you also got to think, too, in the past, we've noticed that Marvel's villains have been they start out kind of lackluster a little bit going for a while, and then it's like the last few years they've been getting better and better and they have really worked themselves on not only fixing the problems of their villains, but also pushing a lot more with what our main characters go through.
I'm sure that we can't spoil, we're not going to spoil anything. If you guys ain't familiar or you guys need a refreshing, it's basically the superheroes are now brought into face off with Thanos now, and I think it kind of leads off the ending of Ragnarok a little bit. It goes continuing after Ragnarok.
It is. It's after Ragnarok.
Yeah, Ragnarok, Thor Ragnarok, which came out the previous year after that.
Yeah.
And basically, they're fighting Thanos. Thanos is now pretty much saying that he's gonna have to take over the operation and get. Well, and
he basically has a good motive because he's basically trying to save humanity by basically having to rebuild and do more, supply and everything.
Yeah.
And so what he's doing is for a good cause, but in the end, it's not because he's having to wipe out half of humanity.
He's killing people.
Yeah.
His motive. To take over planets. His motive is not shared by everybody. It's basically. He's got a purpose that he tries to make sense out of everything, but at the same time, he's causing mass genocide.
Yeah. So,
it's basically like saying if I became president and because this certain ethnic group commits a crime, most of the crime, I must kill them all.
Yeah.
That's basically it. That's not, I mean, people might say, well, the crime will be down, but at the same time, it's not a moral thing to do.
No, it's not.
To take everybody of that ethnic.
From everything, from the performances, from everyone, especially Josh Brolin as Thanos.
Performance,
absolutely fantastic as usual.
Yeah.
The emotional integrity that leads our heroes.
Josh Brolin was great as Thanos. He nails the fuck out of it. Everybody's performance is going to be obviously great.
And
I will tell you right now, holy fucking hell did MCU turn dark in this one. Yeah. Everybody's slowly fucking dying. Yeah. And it's not even in the first 5 minutes we're getting death.
Yeah. Like what I'm saying, we already start with known characters we've seen in other films start dying off one by one. And, the action scenes are so epically scaled from going from having to go in the spaceship battles, you got the Wakanda battles, things like that. And the way
that fucking ending,
which I know a lot of people have been, from some I understand, are the way they set up, because with the next one coming out, and here's a spoiler, we realize that about half of our main characters have died that they've set up, but you gotta think they had to do this to really push themselves to the next film, because first of all, we don't fucking know who's all gonna come back from the snap.
They need to do this because people need to understand we gotta set our villains aside from all the villains who die and defeated and they beat in the first movies or just in one movie alone. And then we got to set that separate from Thanos. Thanos is the final boss. It is the It Man. There ain't no more powerful. He is the final thing to fight. So we need to find devastation. And if you guys ain't familiar with the comics, I'm not really in the comics myself. I know enough that Thanos does some pretty brutal fucking shit, and it spreads out for a long time because they just can't defeat this motherfucker. Unfortunately, you can't do that in film because it will get repetitive after a while.
Yeah,
so,
but yes, there are going to be a lot of characters that have died that will come back, but that's the thing, we don't know who's all coming back, so we're still left.
They said
who's all coming back.
They're leaving it up in air, so we won't know. I'm sure Spider-Man's going to be one, obviously, because his franchise, he's going to make a franchise out of him. But we're not really sure, but they have indicated that some are permanently dead. And then not only in the next one, we're going to some will get brought back just to be killed again, but also they said that this, you thought Infinity Wars was sad, they said this one is going to be probably break your heart.
Yeah, they said that the next one with Endgame, you're going to probably be seeing like some of our main characters permanently dead after this. So be prepared. I'm definitely prepared now for Endgame because
Endgame is the final one. By the way, it's the final Avengers film, and it will pretty much close out pretty much that whole entire storyline. Yeah,
they might continue more in the future with like other stuff, but for now, this is the main story arc that they're closing with the next movie.
Yeah.
So
this film like blew me away whenever that part where like you see these superheroes, like everybody winning. They're so used to winning that they have a huge ego in this film. Yeah. And then they realize,
no,
we met our match.
Yeah. Now,
and
I mean, there are
sad part where he starts fucking slowly, where he earns all the stones, and not only that, a part where he killed Gamora.
That was sad, yeah.
That fucking got me.
That was pretty sad.
And it actually hurts. It shows that Thanos does have feelings, but he knows that the last time he made a deal to not get all the stones, it ended in bad shit for him. So he had to kill his own little girl, which technically ends up being like you end up learning that it was his little girl because, I mean, it really wasn't. He killed her entire kind and took her in as a little child, and he raised her.
But still, the way he raised her and everything, you really feel the bonding moment.
They show. No, that's what I appreciate. This is the first time MCU gave us most of the story for the villain.
Yeah, because if you look at it, Thanos is the main guy that they focus on.
Well, if you got to think, we've already had 20 films of all our superheroes to build their story. Why would it would be pointless to give them the whole movie?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm glad they took the opposite approach where you're focusing on Thanos as the centerfold, and everyone around is just the pieces that surround it.
Yeah, because we already know who everybody else is.
So,
and man, devastation, man, and the movie just abruptly ends in sadness.
Yeah,
and that,
the way it's
really
all non-music and everything, it captures everything so well, and that's that to me is how you really push your wrists with.
And then obviously the one that gets the people the most, the Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man that hit me, and also Groot.
Yeah,
but
there's a rumor that is going around. I don't know if it's entirely true, but one of the writers indicated that Groot's actually trying to say "daddy" to Raccoon.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and that's like, damn, that really is more of a dagger than a fucking art, man. It's just like he finally was going to say a different word, but he meant Groot, but means daddy in Groot.
Yeah.
So it's like, golly. But man, I'll tell you right now, this movie, that's why it's my #1 film of 2018. It blew me the fuck away.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So yeah, there's our top 10 best movies of 2018. And coming up soon, we'll be having our top 10 worst list of the shit that we had to go through that were so fucking painful that put us in misery. But until then, for those of you who have also come up who have your other lists that you've brought, your best movies of the year 2019, let us know in the comments below of what you had your list of. And if you like what you see here, you can feel free to like and subscribe to our channel and check out some other reviews here and our website at filmphreeks.com. And we'll be seeing you in our next review. We'll see you later.
Later.